Good day and welcome. In today's creative episode, I'm sharing an outdoor adventure sketching trip using gouache. In the video, you'll hear some of the ambient nature sounds, and while my camera didn't pick up the depths of the birds, it was like being in another world. The materials I took on this trip were simple, only the basic necessities. Basically only what could fit into this wooden travelling art box. I will include a discussion toward the end of the video, the exact materials I used, what I would change next time around, and what I found frustrating. Painting outdoors is such a unique experience. You have to problem solve on the go. Concentration and observation factors heighten beyond any plausible explanation. Letting go of any petty resistance you might hold about yourself swiftly melts away. I don't have time for insecurities. The light just moved. I need to paint. The only person you can get angry at is at yourself, so be kind to yourself. Teaching you patience and accountability and discipline, confidence and so much more, outdoor painting is something that I would recommend for every single person. While I used gouache for 2 sketches, I transferred my attention to a simple agapanthus flower. I have many agapanthus at home, as you might have seen from my previous video. However, at this point I wanted a change, and my intention wasn't to capture the flower via drawing, rather it was about quieting the mind. For me, on a daily basis, awareness of negative programming is part of my daily well-being. I focus on becoming aware of thoughts that do not add to my well-being and those that detract. I focus and set intentions to then reprogramming with positive belief systems. You might have seen the wild duck in my last video that lingered around me. In this creative experience, I ran into some very wild animals who didn't seem to be bothered by me at all. In fact, this was the first time I saw horses in Western Park, as majority of the time it's mainly dog walkers and their doggos and the odd duck, bird and cockatoo. So seeing a horse was an absolute delight. I think putting yourself into the space of the natural world outside of our studio, outside of our comfort zone, brings forward some of the most greatest artistic, creative lessons that we wouldn't even know we had to learn. Most of the time when we learn from other artists, I feel that we come up against ourselves and we start to feel critical of ourselves. At least that's been some of my journey as I've been through different processes of learning. And so when that comes up and when those type of lessons come up, the best thing to do is to write down what you felt and what your thoughts and emotions were, and second, the reason why. When you uncover those reasons, you will start to quickly learn that they are the impediments to your creative journey, to your creative process. So take some time out if you can, place yourself in a beautiful park and just bring a sketch pad and a pencil or a pen and allow those processes to work through you. Allow that energy to move through you, and you'll find very quickly that you will start to release some of those resistances within you, and that your creativity will expand 1,000-fold. I know it's something that a lot of people are not comfortable doing, and certainly not comfortable looking within and discovering some of those impediments, but I can guarantee almost with absolute love and generosity that you will be grateful. Words will not be able to define the emotions that you'll feel once you release those barriers from within you. So today I thought I would continue the outdoor adventure discussion, and I wanted to address some of the questions that perhaps you might like to know, or if you have raised them already. There are many questions, but I thought I'd go through top 3 some of the biggest concerns that artists or new artists have when they go out painting. The first one is, what materials did I take with me? I'll run through them, what they were and why I took them with me. The second question is, what would I have changed? And third, what was frustrating about going out with what I took with me? And what did I love about the process? Now, this isn't my first time painting or sketching outdoors, but I thought I'd put something together for anyone considering going out and perhaps might have some sort of doubt whether or not they can or cannot do it. So what are the materials that I took with me? There they are, basically on one table, exactly what came with me. Now, to keep it simple, let me show you how I made sure that I was as streamlined as I could be. Pretty much this is a large sketchbook that I take with me, and in case I wanted to make some larger studies on while I was out, that pretty much slides in a backpack. And I've shown you this before. This is a small little black box per se. I've got a lot of different pens in there. I've got my water canister, pencils, and the demister, which sits underneath. Whoops, there he goes in there. So that's pretty much what goes into that box there. Let me grab some things off the floor. And of course, then my biggest piece of equipment that comes with me is this painting box. Inside it is pretty much everything that I need to have with me, and that includes the paint, the brushing, the brush set, the sketchbook that I've talked about before. I've neatly got everything placed in there. Let me just move that closer. I've got every single item in a compartment, and tape for anything that I need to stick out, stick down, the gouache set, eraser, sharpener, my mixing palette, clamps, and different variety of clamps. So quite a tough one here, and then these small bulldog clips. So this is pretty much the item that I took with me, and that's as far as I went. I didn't overcomplicate a single thing. Otherwise, it can get very, very busy and messy, and I just didn't want to do that. I also took paper towels and a paper bag or a plastic bag to take the rubbish home with me. That's, by the way, a necessity. So this is, in a nutshell, the items that came with me. Very simple, nothing overcomplicated. So the backpack and the box, the painting box, were really the only thing that I took with me. I mean, I like to be as streamlined as I can. There is no overcomplicated when it comes to me going out and creating some sketches or placing myself in a beautiful environment and then enjoying that process of creativity. I chose to do all the sketches on my small little pochard style sketchbook, which I think it's an A6 from memory, but I showed you that on the last video anyway. And I like using this small sketchbook. There are some things in there that I've done already, this one too, by the way, is the one that I just completed whilst I was at home. I was playing around. I'll pop that too at the end of this video. And yeah, so my thought was, I like using these small sketchbooks because it really does allow me the capability to focus more on the creative aspect versus completing a painting. And so my creative process is, I think I've mentioned this before, focusing on what my resistances are and then focusing on being loose when I paint, when I sketch. It's a real thing for me. Stiff or having stiff movements, stiff hands and body, it's not conducive for a good painting, at least from where I've come from. Everyone's got their process, but that's just mine, and ergo why I would then choose to use something small like this. As I said before, I put in my backpack the large or larger A4 sketch pad. That's in case I really want to explore movement with brushes and a larger brush versus, of course, with these things, you utilize much smaller brush. Now, why did I take this box? Well, it fits everything in there and it can come with me neatly. I can just carry the box and my backpack and that's that. Did it all work on the day? Well, that's another discussion altogether. What would I change when I go out and what would I bring with me? As you've seen from the footage, I brought a chair to sit on and therefore the box would have acted as a sturdy table / easel and everything was at my fingers reach, and ergo would have been easier, for me to paint and sketch. The problem with that is that I had different compositions and sections of where I was to create, which meant that part of it I couldn't keep the box steady on my legs. It was a little bit uncomfortable. I wanted to move about, and that means breaking the process of creating my flow zone and stopping that and repositioning myself. So I think if I was to do the box again, I would bring forward a small stool that I have and then use that chair as somewhere to place the box on. That's probably my first change. Second, you've seen me sit on the floor on the actual grass in the park. That's okay. It's a little bit uncomfortable after a while. Your things get a bit weird, your joints kind of stiffen up. I'm okay to do that when it's warm. That particular day was 37 degrees Celsius, which was very hot, and it's okay to sit on the ground. In Canberra in winter, however, that's not something that I recommend. I absolutely despise cold, and so to sit on a cold ground, it's just not on. I've been out sketching during cold and winter, but sitting on something cold, that kind of exacerbates the whole feeling of how really cold I am. So don't recommend that. But if you're going to sit on the floor, I certainly recommend that you bring some sort of a rug, a picnic blanket, just to kind of cushion and soften that position. The third, what would I change is, well, I'm coming back now to the box. That box is quite large. It is very cumbersome to maneuver. It's okay to hold and it's compact and you can fit a lot of things in, but hard to maneuver. Now, that box was given to me by a friend of a friend of a friend who passed on. And so I'm quite sentimental and I don't like to throw anything out. So I've kept it. I love its usage, but certainly it is a little bit cumbersome to bring along. I know you can purchase smaller boxes that fold and all these wonderful things. I'm just not willing to kind of put money to invest in that at the moment. And I quite like using what I have before I say, right, we need to change. But certainly, is this something that this box can come with me all the time? I call it a box. It's a really briefcase, a wooden briefcase. Not really. I'll have to find something else with what I have, but it can be a little bit cumbersome. In bringing it out, if I was to bring it out, like I said, I'd bring that chair, camping chair, and my stool so that I have somewhere to put it on. So that there's a little bit of a give and take with that piece of equipment. What was frustrating on the day, besides the not being comfortable, and I'm trying to find my comfort zone and sitting position, I kind of gave up after a while and just did my thing without dwelling on it. The light kept changing. Now I know this is every artist's thing when you go out plein air, but certainly it was sunny, cloudy, and it became so frustrating. So again, I took a mental snapshot of what I was looking at and then worked from there. So, these are the things that do come up quite often, and frustrations are something that you have to deal with when you are outdoor painting. And like I mentioned before, frustrations are a normal and natural thing. It's really a matter of how you react to that frustration that will make things smoother for you. Certainly changing of the light, uncomfortability, dealing with a piece of equipment that wasn't quite working for me. It's a matter of, finding the solution quickly and then moving on. But if you find that light keeps changing on you, I would make a quick note on your sketch pad, whether it's in pen or paper, and then start to apply the colors to the best of your ability, and your memory of where that light was. What did I love about the day? Well, everything to do with nature. It's my full and total milieu of experience. The smells, the noise of the birds, the trees, the rustling of the leaves, the feeling of my bare feet on grass, the heat and yet the small amount of wind that was moving through and keeping the flies off my face. Met the horses in this park, which was highly unusual. You don't often see a horse in Canberra, in a natural Western park in particular, by the way. I mean, at least I haven't. You see a lot of dog walkers and their doggos and wildlife, birds, ducks, etc. But seeing them was quite fun, and an absolute awesome experience. The other part is, whilst I love being with people, not being crowded was a benefit for that day, because I had a lot of things to deal with. I just couldn't put on top dealing with crowds. Now, I don't mind dealing with crowds, but here's a little secret of what an artist goes through when you paint. When you're in the modality called the zone, the process, the journey, whatever you want to term it, the vibration, the frequency, when you're in that spot of painting, there's a certain sequence, a certain process that you go through, both mentally, physically, spiritually, as you're painting. And, to call it simple in layman's term, it's the flow of things. And as you're in that zone, your whole mind and the whole time you're doing that, you're focusing on your next move and your next move. What color, what tone, what value? Is it the right shape? Can I add this? Can I take away that? Soften the line, harden the edges. That's the process that you go through. But every time someone comes behind you and starts to speak with you, that stops. And so you could stop at a process of, oh, I might need to mix a cool color. And you stop there and you go and speak with somebody. Now you've interrupted that flow. And I don't mind talking, but now I've got to restart that engine back up again to remind myself, where was I? What was I mixing? What color was I in? What mark was I about to make? Am I even supposed to use this brush or switch to the palette knife? That interruption numerous times plays a huge part on the flow of what you're creating. And sometimes that can look incredibly jarring on your sketch or your final painting. So whilst I love crowds, and I love interacting with people, I love explaining and talking and offering anecdotes to people, that particular day, I was quite thankful that there wasn't any crowds at all. There were walkers and cyclists and people enjoying nature, but certainly not to the amount that you had a swarm of people come over and start talking to you. So on that day, I enjoyed not having people, and I was totally in my zone of figuring out exactly what I was doing. The other thing that I would say, coming back to the frustrating part, because it was so hot and dry, and I was using gouache on the day, it was drying exceptionally quickly. So using the mister and remisting my paints, I had to keep that on top of my mind, at the forefront of my mind as well. So that got a little bit frustrating, which meant that in a good way, I didn't have to mull over too much about what I had to do. So I just quickly made a mark and applied color and a tone. So that was a positive thing, but ultimately on the other scale, things were drying very, very quickly. And so that was a little bit of a give and take in terms of how I was creating. My true recommendation would be to say, simplify the things that you take with you. Now, I've shown you the wooden case that I take with me, but I can't stress enough to stick to something very, very small, perhaps one or two brushes. Definitely a demister is worth taking with you when you go outdoors, and really simplify your colors. I took the whole gouache set. I didn't use the whole set. Certainly, I could maybe even have done a monochromatic painting and kept it quite simple. But yeah, don't overcomplicate things. Just take whatever you can fit into your backpack and then bring that along. Bring someone along also for company. That really is an important aspect of this process, where you can run things by them, where you can mull over some of the frustrations, or perhaps, get some ideas what you can do different or how you can improve. A fellow artist is always helpful. If not, someone that enjoys being outdoors and just keeps you company is equally as beneficial. But don't despair, and certainly don't talk yourself out of not going and not doing and not being creative, because the moment you experience that first day out, I guarantee you it will be incredibly addictive and you will not want to do anything else. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for your support and your kindness. As always, feel free to leave a comment and a like, and let me know how you're going. Let me know what your thoughts are about your process, and where are some of the impediments that perhaps you have found you are unable to move through. I'm more than happy to offer my directions and certainly things that have worked for me. As always, remember, while you're in this world, you are the light of the world. So do not allow anyone to tell you otherwise. Create, be you, paint, explore, and as always, expand more of you. Until next time, guys. Bye.